okay, is basically just living in fear, okay, because all the negative emotions are rooted in fear. Okay, so if you're anxious, okay, if you're, let's say if you're disappointed, if you're anxious, if you're feeling down, if you're okay, all of these things are related because they're all rooted in fear. Okay, so it's almost in vibration in the vibrational world of it. Okay, if you're talking about vibration, human vibrations are, explained out in emotion. Okay, now becoming emotionally intelligent means you have more control over your emotions. Okay, you become more composed. You become a little bit more, let's say, uh, let's say you have a handle on it more. Okay, so you're less reactionary. Okay, but when you're anxious, okay, the world is a little different. Okay, when you're anxious, what happens? Faster heart rate. Okay, shallow breathing, muscle tension, okay, racing thoughts, that kind of thing. Good morning. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Johnny. God bless you too. Good morning. Okay, so your digestive system slows down, okay? And you start to hyper focus on danger. What does that mean, hyper focus? So I hyper focus when I work, okay? Now, hyper focus, yesterday we were talking about flow, okay, flow state. Now, flow state is when things become more effortless, when things become easier to do. Okay, when you can just flow right through your work. Okay, you're uninterrupted from distraction, basically, because you know how to do what you do. Right, your subconscious controls 95% of your life. So your job, your tasks that you perform, are all being done by your subconscious. Your conscious mind is seldomly like, if it's a process, okay, you know the process. So your conscious mind is hardly involved in that. Okay, your conscious mind picks selects things, says, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this. But the process itself is subconscious. Okay, but when you're suffering from anxiety, anxiety is the distraction. Okay, because you're experiencing fear that may or may not be real. Okay, imagine fear is a thing. Okay, so what happens with your body? Your body starts to react as if there's a real threat. And this is what we call survival mode when it continues on and on, day to day, that kind of thing. Okay, I've pulled so many people out of this, but I do it with their voice. So you're talking energy, frequency, vibration, and then velocity. So Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe better, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Okay, because vibration affects us. Okay, and that's why people talk about good vibes, right? Good vibes, then you got high vibes and low vibes, right? Low vibration is just a low mood. High vibration is just a high mood, okay, or elevated mood. So when you feel good. Okay, the Indian philosopher Shanakwa said, your feelings are your God. Why? Because when you feel good, you attract things. When you feel bad, you repel things, you push things away. So when you're feeling bad or scared, or those feelings, negative emotions, you start to push things away. Uh, Good example. So you walk into a Starbucks and you see somebody standing in the corner and they look like this. Are you gonna go up and talk to them? Probably not, right? But if somebody's smiling, okay, what is that? Well, they're more open, they're smiling, they're happy, okay, easy to talk to, okay, and people don't mind approaching those people or starting conversation or just small talk, right? But when somebody has anxiety or depression, that kind of thing, okay, I've seen so many people with anxiety and they leave just like solid, okay, confident. Okay, goes down to your intestines. Okay, goes down to your stomach. It's very long. Okay, but your voice affects the vagus nerve. Now, if your vagus nerve is not, let's say, active, okay, the less active it is, the less your body is providing natural healing. Okay, So what it does is it controls your calm. Okay, it brings calmness. It calms you. Okay, you're talking regulation, recovery, all of these things. Okay, it's the opposite of survival mode. Okay, we talked yesterday. We were talking. We mentioned a little bit uh, about people that look motivated, right? Okay, and you see them. You see these people. They're always on the go. They're always doing stuff. They're always okay, but they're suffering from high anxiety, high performance anxiety. High performance anxiety looks exactly like motivation. Good morning, Natalie. Hi, hey Troy. Good morning, Claire. High performance anxiety. Okay, so people that have high performance jobs, people that, I had an attorney last year that I worked with for about 9 months, and she's at the top of her field. She's a real estate attorney, and she is at this prestigious firm. Okay, and she told me she said my whole career I've been running. I've been operating out of fear my whole career. And when I met her, she was in her 40s, right? And she said, "Boy, I wish I met you in my 20s," which was quite a compliment for me. But she had been running. Why? The reason she told me was that she didn't want to be poor. And that was the motivation for her to go, 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 go. And she had an impressive career, like impressive career. But we got her out of that. Okay, she had chest pain because of anxiety. Now, anxiety will do physical things to you. Okay, it also lowers your immune system. So you see these people go, 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 right? And then they're always sick. Okay, or they always come down. They come down with a cold every so often. Right? I've been here since last April. I haven't been sick yet. Okay, knock on wood, right? Usually when I say that, right after that, I get sick. So it's subconscious, okay? It's subconscious. But when you are going through anxiety all the time, it's not normal. And what do people do? Well, they go straight to the doctor. What does the doctor do? Well, he gives you medicine. You can regulate that, okay? You can heal that through your voice. Okay, but you need to do it for a little while because your body needs to learn. Your subconscious needs to learn. It learns in repetition. Okay, so you need to do it for a while. Okay, but once your body learns, yesterday we was talking about meditation, right? Your body needs to learn to relax. Why? Because our society is based on stimulus. Everything is stimulating. Everything. When you're scrolling, when you're watching television, when you're listening to radio, everything. Okay? Everything makes you like that dopamine hit, dopamine hit. Okay? So your body needs to learn to relax because it does the opposite more than it relaxes. Okay? So in this process of using your voice to get rid of anxiety, right? Because a lot of people sit behind screens all day. They work behind screens. They make money behind screens. I make money behind screens. Okay, but I do the exercises with my clients and it keeps me from getting anxious. It spares me from that. When you commit these things to your subconscious, it happens automatically. Then you can shut down automatically. Why? Because you have to switch. Okay, now it's time to relax. Now it's time to think about something else. Now it's time to enjoy. That kind of thing. Some people cannot enjoy simply because their subconscious is in wash, rinse, repeat in anxiety. So even when they have a break, even when they're off, they have a hard time to relax. And then what do they need to do? Well, they need to take their medicine and then go to bed. And that's their break. And sometimes they can't even sleep well. Janice, good morning. There's my buddy in Denver. Yeah. So thank you for sharing the live. Thank you, thank you. So if you can't even get quality sleep, you're not really resting. Okay, and you need REM sleep. Okay, look it up. It's a thing. Okay, but your vagus nerve calms. Okay, your vagus nerve soothes. Okay, it gives you that break. It gives you that quality time. Okay, so what happens when your vagus nerve is working well, or when it's stimulated? What happens? Well, you get a slower heart rate. Okay, deep breathing. Hey, Leona. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day too. Okay, emotional balance. Okay, I see a lot of people that are very emotional these days. Why are they so emotional? Because they're anxious inside. And then they strike out at everything. And then your subconscious goes, oh, we're striking out. That's what we're doing? Okay. That's who we are? Okay. Your subconscious makes you do that. Your subconscious learns reactivity, and you start reacting to everything. Your vagus nerve also, I made notes, I brought notes today, also provides better digestion. Okay, and when your vagus nerve is active, okay, when you use it, when you're stimulating your vagus nerve, your immune system raises. So as a result, you're healthier. Okay, so I do this all the time with my students. I hardly get sick. The only thing I have is asthma. But, I can't help that, right? I've always had that. Another thing is social ease. Why? Because when you don't have anxiety, it's easy to get along with people. It's easy to be around people. People that are anxious, they have trouble in crowds. Okay, so it's not the easiest thing to do. I work with a lot of military people with PTSD. That's a whole different ball of wax. That's a different thing. Okay, that's pretty extreme. But my military people that have PTSD, okay, they have trouble in a mall because there's so many people and somebody could be the enemy, right? That kind of thing, because they've been to war. By the time I work with them, most of them are veterans, but they have these issues, these lingering issues. And this is a result of trauma. But they get the switch when they work with their voice, and they start to calm. And then, they're still affected, okay, because they start to be alarmed, but they don't panic. They don't have panic attacks. They don't start going into defense mode. Sure, through your voice. Long, straight tones through your voice. Sing with the music in your car. That's a good one. Yeah, sing with a lot of energy. That'll help you. So these people, right? These veterans go into shopping centers, and they feel it. They feel it, right? Their heart races a little bit, kind of beats a little bit, starts palpitating a little bit. Their breathing kind of gets a little shallow, okay? And then they take some deep breaths, and then they start to relax, and then they walk through it, and then they can walk through the mall. I had this one lady who I think she did a tour in, I think it was Iraq, during the Gulf War. And she told me, she goes, I've been to so many doctors, I've been through so many programs, I've had so much therapy, and nothing helped me like this. But what's even better about this, okay, when you work with the vagus nerve, when you work with your voice, when you start to clear the anxiety, is that with no anxiety, your awareness starts to expand, okay? Because let's say anxiety, let's say fear, let's say, all these negative emotions, all the negative emotions are rooted in fear. I use this as a visual. Okay, so this, okay, versus this. Okay, so let's say you're working under a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of fear-based emotions. Okay, your awareness is like this. Okay, because you can't be aware and scared at the same time. But as you calm, your awareness starts to open like that, and you start to become more aware. And it's something that, something you have to experience, but it's amazing. It's just amazing. And I experience this, especially like when I'm right through, when I get, through with a client and I've been doing it with them, like everything kind of pops out and you notice synchronicities. So if you don't know what a synchronicity is, it's really cool. So online, you have algorithms, right? So if you're looking at something online, or if you're interested in something online, you're looking at, the algorithm will feed you more of it, right? Synchronicities happen in real life, okay? And synchronicities are like when you're standing on the corner of a street, and this happens to me like every day this happens. But it happens because I'm aware, and I'm aware of it, and I see it stick out. You're talking about maybe going to a steak dinner on the weekend. You're talking to your friend on the street, and you see the meat truck drive by, or you see the dairy truck drive by, or whatever, with a picture of a cow on it, and whoa, I was just talking about steak. Sometimes you're in your living room, and you're talking about something, you're having a discussion, maybe a staycation, and then the commercial for the hotel comes on TV or something, like, but something relative like that. So synchronicities are all around you, and your reticular activating system in your brainstem filters in what you're focused on, filters out what you're not focused on. So this is where you get that phenomenon, the red Corvette convertible or something, right? And you start looking at it, and you see more of it, and you go, wow, I never knew there were so many Corvettes, like red Corvette convertibles in my town. But yeah, they're all over the place. Why? Because your reticular activating system is showing it to you. Why is this important for manifestation? It was very important. Because you manifest whether you know it or not, whether you think so or not. It's not something you have to believe in. But what's really cool is when you obtain a handle on this thing, and you work with your subconscious, and your subconscious just brings everything. And the subconscious is wash, rinse, repeat. But instead of focusing on the things you don't want that your subconscious will bring, okay, you focus on things you do want, and your subconscious will bring that. It works for relationships, it works for jobs, careers, like everything. So for the high performance people that I teach, right? Because I teach executives. Number one, flow state happens better. So they just like go through their day, right? Effortlessly, just go through, like, so the stress load is much, much less, right? The second thing that happens with them is they start to see synchronicities. Most of these people that I work with, they pull left brain. Okay, so left brain is logic, problem solving, mathematics, that kind of thing. Okay, right brain is more creativity, intuition, okay? And getting someone who pulls left brain all the time because maybe their job demands it, right? Like pull left brain, left brain, left brain, like that. Having them resensitize to their intuition is a big deal. You have a question. Moonsoul, good morning. Hey, there you are. You have a question, yeah. Did I manifest death of my husband March 17th? No. No. You cannot, you don't have authority over someone else's free will. You cannot manifest in that way. If I wanted to manifest, somebody to pass away or something, I couldn't do that. That's not a thing. Don't worry about that. That was your husband. That was circumstance. So yeah, so free will. I'm glad Moonsoul brought that up. So free will, right? So like, let's say you see a girl or a guy, right, depending, and maybe you like the way they look or they like the way they act or whatever, and you like them, and you want to manifest them into your world, okay? But they don't like you, okay? You cannot violate a person's free will like that, okay? That's the only thing. So, but if they like you, well, sure, absolutely. We did a experiment on the radio. I was on the radio years ago, and we did an experiment. Three of us wrote down details of what we wanted in a woman, and they showed up. I think they showed up within a couple of weeks of each other, or a couple of weeks of when we did it on the radio. But and it was amazing. So write those details down. It's important. Okay, so your subconscious has a record. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Moonso. That's funny. Sorry, we have a chat on this side. We're on 7 platforms right now, all over the place. But we have a chat over here, and people give me gifts and things, and they kind of look funny. They're kind of cute. Anyway, so what we did was we wrote down. She has long hair. She has, the color hair, color eyes, education level, like all of these things, details. Write it down, because your subconscious is going to absorb all of those things. Okay. Now, once you write it down, you have to read it out loud. Okay. And it's a good idea to do that for a while. In about 2 weeks, things start to happen. You start to feel it more. Okay, feeling is very important. When you're trying to get something into your subconscious, feeling is very, very important. Your subconscious responds to feeling or excitement. Okay, or let's say energy, because energy is the same thing. Uh, I saw how your experience is in an advance in many industries. Oh yeah, I've worked in, yeah, I've had like 4 simultaneous careers. Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, you looked me up. Okay. You looked me up. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things. People have a hard time figuring out, who I am really, because they see me doing this thing, that thing, that thing. We have a family of service companies in Hawaii. I mean, people look at it, they go, wow, like, what the heck? But yeah, I've had many interests. And so, just personally, let me say, in the old days, right, you chose one thing, one career, and you said, okay, I'm going to do this. And then you pursued that, and you did that till, I don't know, retirement age. I think it's in the 70s right now. And you do it till retirement age, and then you have a little thank you party or whatever, and you go off on a couple of cruises and die. And that's not my idea of a life. And I had a lot of interests. Okay, I have an eight. I think we kind of expanded a little too soon with a couple of things, but you know, we have a record of everything on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. Our companies are all there. Yes, live life now. Don't wait until you are retired. Yeah, yeah, live life now. There you go. Globe Traveler. Okay, yeah, good morning. Thank you for joining us. So, you know, um, I always had this idea, like when I was young, and I had my first mentor at 13, and my mentor was telling me, well, you got to choose something, you got to, whatever, and I couldn't choose because I was interested in so many things, and I just had this idea that I could do anything because they were telling me. They said you can do or be anything, and I was like, my friends were like, they wanted to be police officers or firemen or whatever, and I had all these other ideas. And now when I look online, when I search myself, everything that I had an idea for when I was 12 is online, and I've done them. And uh, I know I wasn't lucky. I know I just did and whatever. And you just do these things. And then when the digital age came, right around like 2006, 2007, around there, I was like, yeah, the kids, like one day you're going to have a kid who's an airline pilot, and then he does something else, and then he does something else. Like you're gonna have multiple careers for people because of technology. And I saw this. I when I did see this, I was like, wow. It was like somebody out there read my mind and made it possible for people to do more than one thing. Because I was like, wow, I gotta do just like I gotta pick one. You know, when I was in high school, I was like, what? I gotta pick one thing. And then later on, my mentor got me interested in business, and I didn't want to do business at all. Good morning. Oh, you changed. Oh, you Jeep Dude. Okay, you changed your name. Okay, to Globe Traveler from Jeep Dude. Okay. Okay, okay. Hey, I remember you. Welcome. I'm glad you're back. So, you know, I didn't want to just choose one thing and have one shot and then that's all I do in life. You know, to me, that wasn't a life. So I just started to diversify and branch out and do different things. And you know, I had fun doing it. My companies are not built to make, you know, multi millions of dollars. My companies are built to give me the freedom to do what I want, when I want, how much I want to do, and how little I want to do, or whatever, whenever. It's more for freedom. So, you know, a lot of people that I know, right, they build their businesses, it gives them freedom, right? But they have one business that does, you know, millions of dollars. And that's fine. That's good. But I have more than one interest, so I do different things. And my position, my companies are all automated now. So I function more like an administrator with subcontractors, that kind of thing. But I do my teaching myself. Yes, it fits my life description. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, good, good, good. So anyway, in this modern day, in this age, you can do whatever and have a side hustle. I have a pharmacist. He's one of my clients. Okay, and he likes to do music. And so I told him, I said, well, yeah, you know, you can do music on the side. I know a lot of these people. I know a dentist who's a dentist, very good dentist, and he's a jazz bassist, and he goes out and gigs on the weekends because that's what he loves to do, right? And he makes more money being a dentist than he does a jazz musician. So, you know, there's that. You have a lot of interest in life also and a lot of places to see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good. Yeah. I don't like to travel too much. I traveled extensively when I was a child. I traveled all over the place when I was a kid. I'm kind of traveled out, but yeah, there's always that possibility one day, I guess. So today we're talking about anxiety. We kind of got off into left field over there. Okay, but we're talking about anxiety. Now, if you're stuck in fight or flight mode, okay, now you're living with anxiety. Now you're living in what we call survival mode. If you're living in survival mode, okay, you need to get out. And the reason why is because it will ruin your health, okay? It will ruin everything. It will ruin your thought process. Okay, a lot of people get burnt out. Like I had this one client and she wasn't a business client, she was a nurse. She still is a nurse and she's still with me after 4 years. And she suffered burnout so bad she had to stay home for a month. She had to stay home from work, like just doing nothing, just recuperating, actually recovering. But this is what happens. So, you know, when you see these people and you know, they look so motivated and wow, how do they do that? They just boom, 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 boom. Motivation looks exactly, I mean, high performance anxiety looks just like motivation. Okay. So that's my ADHD brain skipping tracks. But yeah, so that happens. Okay, but with this process that we do, the vocalization, so it's affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. Okay, the four pillars, these four pillars, because of perception, because the glass is always half full and half empty, depending on what you choose. Okay, this is why Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, either way you're correct. Okay, when you aim these four pillars at any one thing, it has to happen. It cannot not happen. Okay, but the way it happens, and this is why we say the how is God's job. If you want to say God, if you want to say source, if you want to say universe, if you want to say Jesus Christ, Allah, whatever, however you believe, I'm not here to sway your belief system. I'm not here to persuade you to believe this way or that way or whatever. Okay, I'm a Christian personally. I believe that way, but everybody's different. Okay, so the one thing that we have in common is awareness, and we're all a part of consciousness. And we talked about this the other day as well. Okay, we talked about consciousness and awareness, and a lot of people are in consciousness, but they're not aware. Okay, they're in consciousness, but instead of being aware, like this, right? I showed you the visual. Okay, their awareness is like this. It's been dumbed down. Okay, and what are they doing? They're running through life in flight or fight mode, fight or flight mode. And how does that happen? Well, it's sociological conditioning for one thing. Okay, we call it societal hypnosis because it is a hypnosis of sorts. You ever see those people at the stoplights, right? You're kind of looking around like that, and you see the people like this, and they're just waiting for the green light. They're like robots, like that. Okay. But it's for a myriad of other things. It's not just that. Okay, it goes way deeper than that. But it's everything from TV commercials to what you see online, to what you see on programs and movies and what have you. And in order to break free of this, when I give my clients the vocalization exercise, whoa, the world changes. And they go, wow, because they snap out of it. Because your voice pulls you out of it. By the third session, like, people are like, whoa, yeah, I feel this. I have a client in California. I don't know if she's with us today, if Marlene is with us. She usually pops in on the chat. But she saw the solution to her problems in 3 sessions. And I gave her an extra session. And she was like, whoa, like, yeah, this is, I never saw it. I never saw all these things. And she didn't really see how badly she was being taken advantage of. Because you don't notice when you're in it. You only notice when you get pulled out of it and you look back in the box and you go, whoa. Okay. I've had countless numbers of women that have been through narcissism, extreme narcissism. It's not a pretty thing. It's not a nice thing to go through. So what happens is, when you go through this, so human beings are like this. Okay, nothing's one way in life. And because nothing's one way, as a defense, let's say, towards a narcissist, you become narcissistic. Okay, so just in a relationship with a narcissist, you start to become narcissistic to combat the narcissism. Okay, so we all have narcissism in us, all of us. Okay, but when it's amplified, okay, when it just gets carried away, okay, then, oh, thank you, Munso. When it gets amplified like that, okay, this is one thing that amplifies narcissism. Okay, things online. Okay, but when narcissism gets amplified, it becomes a problem. But the narcissist doesn't see it as a problem, but it affects people around them. And then pretty soon they have to get away. Or, one of my clients used the word escape, and I thought that was pretty extreme. She goes, I had to escape from him. And I was like, whoa, okay. But the thing about our program with affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, you never have to say what's wrong. This will just fix it. It just fixes it. And it fixes it through your subconscious. So here's some things about your subconscious. Okay, now if you're in anxiety, doubt, and fear, anxiety is a form of fear. Okay, so all the negative emotions are rooted in fear. Okay, doubt is a form of fear. There's a reason you doubt yourself. Okay, So maybe you doubt that you can, I don't know, get the promotion. There's something in you that's afraid. Okay? Something about you that's not sure or afraid, and that's the root of the emotion. But it's all rooted in fear. So doubt and fear, you always hear that. People say, "Oh, doubt and fear keeps you from manifestation." Yeah, it does. Anxiety is like being in fear all the time. It's like living in fear because it comes back very, very often. Okay, periodically throughout the day, kind of thing. You feel anxious, and then it kind of settles a little bit. Then you feel anxious again. Then something happens, and it gets triggered again. Okay. So living with anxiety is very tough. It's a tough thing. When you're stuck in fight or flight mode, right? Everything represents a threat. Threats are continuous. Okay, they start popping up. Now they're not always real. That's the thing. Some of them are imagined. But your amygdala doesn't know. It can't distinguish whether this is a real threat or an imagined threat. And a lot of times, right, people sit around and start thinking. Your amygdala gives you all of these suggestions and all the what ifs, and they're all rooted in fear. They're all fear based. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? Right? So you have this emotional reactivity going on. And when somebody, says something, does something that you don't like, or whatever, something offensive, or something, maybe even they don't even mean it like that, but the trigger happens, and you respond, and you react, and you react, and you react. But the vagus nerve process that we do through the voice, it softens that, so that there's not a gut reaction like that. Okay, the vagus nerve goes all the way down in your intestines. And what happens is the throat chakra needs to open first. Because the more volume, the more strength, the more energy that we can get through the muscles, okay, from your voice, the bigger your voice gets. So the more energy that we put through the muscles. So I have this client that I see on Sundays. And this Sunday, her voice came out more. And her voice went higher. Now, she's not singing. This is not singing. Okay? This is vagus nerve activation. And I told her, I said, for the last 3 weeks, you've been putting out more and more voice. And today you went a little bit higher. And she goes, yeah, I noticed that. And I said, yeah, that's because you're opening up like that. So the voice, right, you have vocal cords, they're down here, but the pharyngeal muscles are here. Those muscles. When we condition those muscles, guess what happens? Those muscles control the flow of the voice, or the volume of the voice. When these muscles squeeze, okay, it controls what's being pushed up by the diaphragm, the air. Okay, your vocal cords in here make the sound. Okay, but these muscles control everything. So we work on the diaphragm and these muscles. And what happens? The pressure increases. And when the pressure increases, you get more hormones. So your neurotransmitters start firing oxytocin and endorphins, and it calms the brain. So we call these cycles, we don't call them treatments because we make no medical claims, okay? I have to say that for legal purposes. But when we do this in repetition, so like weekly, we do an hour, we do it about 3 times in an hour every week. By the 3rd session, like, people are like, whoa, what is this? I had this psychiatrist. I thought it was interesting because he's a brain guy, right? He's supposed to know all this stuff about the brain. On the 4th session, I said, Doc, what do you think? Because I was interested in his professional opinion. And he goes, yeah, I feel it, but I don't know what this is. Okay, so with that being said, I want to tell you that everything is mental, spiritual, physical. Physical are the exercises that we give. Mental is the way you think about it. And spiritual is You're not your body, you're not your name. You're that spirit that lives in here. You're a spiritual being having a physical experience. Okay? Because these things get old. This body will get old. I'll have to leave this behind one day. The body will just expire. Okay, but this will not expire. If you want to call it energy, you want to call it a spirit, whatever you want to call it, everybody has one. Everybody has this ability through their subconscious. Okay, so manifestation happens, right? Because when you're calm, when you're centered, or let's say when you're confident, because that's what it is, okay, when you're centered, relaxed, calm, everything starts to come. Why is that? Because you attract everything that you are, everything that pertains to you. Some of it is genetic, some of it is what you desire. You know, and a lot of young people now are treating manifestation like it's some kind of magic or some kind of witch's spell or whatever. I guess if that makes you feel good, you could do that. But it's your subconscious. It's not mystical at all. Once your subconscious believes something, once it goes into your subconscious as a belief, your subconscious creates avenues to achieve it. It's that simple. But if you have a bunch of anxiety in here, you have a bunch of fear in here, you doubt yourself. And why would you doubt yourself? Well, I tried this one time and that didn't work. I tried this and that didn't work. You know, my friends told me I was stupid, and yeah, I started to believe that. So all of these things like that, they start to add up, and pretty soon you start judging yourself. And people that judge others are probably the worst ones. Because your subconscious doesn't know if you're judging somebody else or you're judging yourself. Your subconscious, right now, my subconscious does not know if I'm talking to me or if I'm talking to you. It has no idea. It just hears me. And all of this information goes right back into my subconscious. So this is like, for me, it's, oh, thank you. Was that Lisa? Thank you, Lisa. Lisa, living the dream. All right. Thank you, Lisa. So my subconscious has no idea. Your subconscious doesn't know fantasy from reality. Okay, so how does that help? You get a bill, okay, right next to the amount, just put thank you for the money. Okay, your subconscious witnesses you doing that. Okay, now that's a conscious effort. That's the conscious mind. So you have conscious, subconscious, superconscious. Your subconscious is where the programs are stored. Your conscious mind is like your operating system. And the superconscious is the network that we're all plugged into. It's called awareness. Okay, so this is why awareness, okay, God fits in this category, okay, just so you know, okay. Yes, subconscious is very literal. Yep. You can, it's an order taker. You can tell it what to do. That's another way I put it. So the superconscious, or God, works off of what's in your subconscious. So you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in whatever it is you're asking for, or whatever it is you're planning to do, or whatever you're taking steps towards. And the superconscious, or God, will start to open the doors. This is why it's important to get rid of anxiety, because anxiety interrupts this process. Because doubt and fear are not conducive to the network. You have to be open. Okay. My clients, even my professional clients, they come to me. Okay, they're like this when they come. They're all like this. Okay, this represents reserved. This represents introverted. This represents fear. This represents self-doubt. This represents uncertainty. Confidence is the opposite of all of that. Okay, but confidence is not like those muscle guys in the gym, you know. Okay, that's muscle development. That's not necessarily confidence, because some of those guys, those big muscle guys, they're controlled by this small 5'2" Asian girl, and she knows which buttons to push, right? And it'll bring him to his knees, that kind of thing. Okay, so that's not confidence, right? But confidence is an inner, relaxed feeling. Confidence is not boisterous. Confidence is not, you know, big and tough and pushing your weight around kind of. No, that's all insecurity. That's the opposite. That's fear. There's fear at the root of all of those things. Okay? There's a feeling of lack there. That's why they're putting on everything. Okay? Because there's a little emptiness going on in there for whatever reason. But confidence is like a chill kind of thing. Okay, the more chill you are, the more confident you are, the more relaxed you are internally. Okay, that's what the meditation is for. The meditation is to teach you to relax. 10 minutes a day, that's it. You can do the whole process. The whole process that we do with our clients takes about 15 minutes a day. And the rest is maintenance. Okay, let me show you what the maintenance looks like. Looks like this. Okay. So this is the maintenance. Okay, these are affirmations. This is not journaling, okay? I know there's a whole big thing about journaling going on. You have to be careful when you journal. If you're journaling about negative things, if you're journaling about, you had this drama going on and you're writing all the details about it and all of that, that's all going in your subconscious. That's not good. Okay, now, if you're journaling about, let's say, your victories, if you're detailing the things that you succeeded in, and you're writing details about those things, okay, that's good, because that will go into your subconscious. Okay, so be careful what you're writing. Be careful what you speak. You ever hear those people that are always talking about what they don't want? Oh, the last thing I want is for that to happen. The last thing, this to happen or whatever, right? But it's all going into their subconscious. You can speak things into reality. How does that work? Goes into your subconscious. Subconscious looks for pathways to make it happen. And then pretty soon a lot of negative stuff happens. Where your focus goes, energy flows. Yeah, that's a catchphrase. That's adequate. Be intentional, yep. But be intentional with what you want instead of what you don't want. Some people are very intentional about what they don't want, right? And they pronounce it unto themselves. This is what the book of Job is about in the Bible. Okay, and Job says, what does Job say in the Bible? He says, the things I fear come upon me. Okay, so stay away from your fears. If somebody is making you fearful, if you're in a relationship and someone is making you fearful or keeping you in fear, or if you're in a religion and they're preaching fear, or whatever it is, or in an organization, a community organization, and they're making you fearful, get out. Because once you buy into fear, fear goes into your subconscious. Your subconscious will start to look for things to make you fear. So it works either way. That's why Henry Ford said, well, if you think you can or you think you can't, either way you're correct. But that's why. It's important that somebody break it down for you. So I'm breaking down things for you. I teach 3-year-olds sometimes. So I have to break things down for 3-year-olds. They don't understand much, but they understand energy. And they heal. And they become confident through their vagus nerve. Have you ever seen a 3-year-old with anxiety? There's lots of 3-year-olds with anxiety. When they come to me, they're full of anxiety sometimes. They can't sit still. This is why meditation is such a challenge. This is why sitting still for 10 minutes is such a big deal for people. It's the stimulus. And sometimes these little kids, these 3-year-olds, are just overstimulated, right? And then I start working with their voice. They start to calm, they start to sit there, and pretty soon they start to have a conversation with me. It's pretty cute because they start acting like adults. Because they see adults, they're around adults, and they start having normal conversations. It's amazing. It's amazing. One grandmother said, "Well, you're the only one that takes 3-year-olds. Everybody else says 6-year-olds." And I'm like, well, they just don't know how to teach. If you can't communicate with a 3-year-old, something's wrong, okay? And you're an adult, something's wrong. And you profess to be a teacher, something's wrong. So just to recap, when your vagus nerve is understimulated, okay, you get stuck in fight or flight mode. Do you feel like anxiety is based in fear? I know it's based in fear. I don't feel like it. I know it. What? At 3 years old? Yeah, at 3 years old. Yep. What was that? Victoria Clara. Yep, at 3 years old, anxiety, can't sit still, jumping all over the place. I've had a lot of children with autism that were severely. Some of them were just mildly autistic. Some of them were severely autistic. I had this one boy who used to jump on the couch in my waiting room at my office when I used to teach in person. Just like jump up on the couch and like jump all over the office and stuff. I started working with him with this vagus nerve stimulation, and he started to calm, and pretty soon he could just sit there on a chair. His father was like, whoa. His father couldn't believe what was going on. Okay, so understimulated vagus nerve, shallow breathing, okay, chest breathing, okay, and you also experience panic sensations sometimes, okay, but that's the result of anxiety. A lot of my professionals have high performance anxiety. Okay, well, they have it when I meet them, okay, because they confuse it with motivation. They think that's what's involved. They think it's normal. It's not normal. Okay, emotional reactivity, overthinking, mood swings, quick triggers. Okay, these are all things that happen with an understimulated vagus nerve. Okay, digestive issues. Yeah, and then your immune system doesn't work as well, so you get sick more often. You get colds, and you see these people all the time, right? You probably, if you work in an office, you've seen these people in the office. Go sick, go sick, right? So that happens. It's bad for your immune system. I'm slowly starting to see many emotions are based in fear. Thoughts, all the negative emotions are rooted in fear. So we're talking, I'll read my list for you. It's worry, irritation, disappointment, criticism, anger, hate, boredom, envy, despair, grief, guilt, shame, and fear. There you go. There you go. There you go, Lisa. So yeah, and when you are in these negative emotions, your vibration is kept down. Okay, so your vibration is low. Okay. When you elevate your mood, you elevate your vibration. When you elevate your vibration, the things that are on that vibration or in that vibration begin to come to you. Okay, better work opportunities, better friends, okay, better material things, better money, better all of those things, because the vibration is higher. Okay, and let's see. So, yeah, basically, underactive vagus nerve basically anxiety is part of that. You're living in survival mode, that kind of thing. Survival mode is what I told you that my attorney was living in last year, and she told me she was just running through her career. She had an impressive career. It was an awesome career. Like she did, I took a look at her LinkedIn. I'm like, whoa. Like I was amazed at what she did. But she was operating out of fear. The first fear was being poor. The second fear was losing her job. And a lot of people have that fear, right? If I don't perform, right? if I don't perform right, or if I don't perform up to par, or whatever, up to expectation, okay, and a lot of that is imagined. A lot of that is imagined. So I have the before I go, I'll talk about the 50 percentile and work-life balance, because we're talking a lot about high performance anxiety and stuff. So work-life balance is important. Okay, when you have, let's say, this is personal. Well, let's call this work on this side and personal on this side. Okay, so when you start doing things at home, when you start taking work home, this goes over here like this. Okay, so this is the 50 percentile. Now you're over here, so maybe this is 55%. Now work is 55% because you're answering emails at home. Okay, you're catching up with work at home because you want to get